video, we're going to talk about off-page ranking factors. These are all the factors that are external to our site, things that talk about us and point to us, but aren't necessarily on the site and in our control all the time. So we'll go through a quick list of what these are. So links is one of the most important and first factors that we talk about when we talk about off-page. So how do links affect our website? Well, in a previous video, we talked about kind of link mapping and one website of value linking to our website or another website and how that value is transferred. But link profiles have been said over and over by Google and other search engines that those are the most important factors of all factors. Now, there's a lot of important factors, don't get me wrong, but the very basis of how algorithms work is one site linking to another showing the value of that site. And so when we look at how links are created, not all links are actually created equal. And so there's something called a link profile, which has to do with a lot of factors, and we'll kind of review those. So first, the quality of the link to the site. Does it link from another website? And so quality of a link is really a big factor within our overall link profile. The next is the quantity of links. So if I have a website and someone else has a website and mine has 10 times as many links, then mine might be a better website. And so there's got to be some relationship between the quality of the links and then, of course, the quantity of the links. Another factor is the variety of pages that are being linked to. Do all of your links go just to your home page, or do you have links to actual pieces of content in your blog and static pages of your website that are of value? So if a lot of people are linking to your sub pages, which is something we call deep link ratio, the percentage of links that go to not the home page, to sub pages, if you have a very high deep link ratio, that signals to Google and other search engines that your site has valuable content throughout. And so this helps the ranking of your site quite a bit. The other question is, how are people ranking? The other question is, how are people linking to your website? So an image link versus a text link is very different. Typically an image link will be a logo. Maybe you're sponsoring something and you've got your logo and it links back to you, or maybe your web page has an image that's being used somewhere else and it links back to you. And so a lot of times an image link is not as high of value because it's not really a direct reference, or sometimes it's a paid sponsorship, which is kind of a no-no in the linking world. Google especially doesn't like to see that you paid for a link to be on someone else's website and link back to you. So you want to be careful about how many image links are out there. The majority of your links should really be text, and that text should be referencing maybe a keyword or something about your site. So it needs to be very natural, very organic. So Google has spent a lot of time analyzing links, and they've built a lot of technology around understanding if those links are helping and if they are natural and organic, or if it's something that somebody just kind of jammed in there to increase their search engine optimization. So you want to be very careful about how you're linked. Now, one of the most valuable types of links possible is, something like a news organization or some kind of big content publication, literally talking about the keywords that you are trying to rank for, and then linking to your site and saying, this is a good place to check out. See, something like that is literally saying, okay, we're authoritative when it comes to this particular keyword, but if you really want the information, go talk to this guy over here. That referral, that link is a really strong bond, and that helps you rank well for that keyword term. Now, typically in there, there's going to be something called anchor text. So let me first explain. In HTML terms, we don't say link, we call it an anchor. And so the code for it is $A. So if you look at the bottom here, it says $A, and then it says href equals, and then yoursite.com/page. So this would be the web page, and then there's a caret to close that up. And so the opening tag says, here's a link that's going to link to this particular page. And then inside those two tags is going to be best site ever, and then you have a closing tag, which is $A. So that text inside the anchor is what we call anchor text. And anchor text is basically clickable text that takes you to another web page. Anchor text is a really strong signal, but you have to be very careful that you don't just jam keywords and anchor text all over the place, because then it looks very forced and very unnatural, and you could potentially get penalized for that. But if you do have a very authentic, very good, this guy's my CPA, he's the best CPA ever, and that's a clickable link that says best CPA, and then someone goes to Google and searches for the best CPA, it's a pretty good match. It's pretty relevant. And so be careful about how much you do it, but you probably want to have a good mixture of the types of links that go to your website. And then the last part of a link profile is really the recency of the links and the frequency. So if I've been around for 10 years on the web, did I get a lot of links at the beginning and I haven't had anything since? Or am I getting links consistently over time? And the best way to get ranking is to get consistent links over time, all the time, just a continuous relevance, and have people pointing to your site all the time. So how recent and how frequent are the links? Now the next area we want to talk about for off-page is geographic location, or geo. So geographic location is going to affect the search. If you are in a city and you do a search, then definitely those local area restaurants or retailers or whatever you're searching for is what's going to show up on Google. So this is something where if we're a local business, we're really going to rank for our hyper-local traffic. We're not going to rank nationally. Now, if you do want to rank nationally, there's some different considerations. It really becomes more about broad keywords and more about, kind of these big money terms, if you will. And it can be difficult because you're now competing with the entire country. For most small business and medium-sized businesses, it's better to just focus on your niche and your geography, and even include some of those geographic terms on your web pages. So let's say I'm located, I've mentioned the pizzeria in Hoboken. Let's say I'm located in Hoboken, New Jersey. It wouldn't be a bad idea to have a web page that says pizzeria, Tony Baloney's Pizzeria, Hoboken, New Jersey, in an H1 tag, and then have some content there and have a map, have our address, have a click to our phone number, all the ways to get a hold of us. Google sees this and knows that as a business, we're doing a good job at being found, at being available, and letting our customers get to us. And so mobile phones is another consideration because they're always connected. They're always being geographically tracked. And so mobile has dramatically changed results and how they are served up, but know that anybody on a mobile device is going to find you because they're close, along with some other factors, but that proximity is a big one. And then business areas have got to be upfront about where they service. And so going into something like a Google Maps and setting up the Google My Business profile where you claim your map listing and you put your hours and everything in there, which, we probably all use that, and we really appreciate it when people have good reviews and have their hours and update it for holidays and all those types of things. So doing that and declaring what the service area is that you provide to will also help in the geography. So maybe your office is located, in a big city and on one side of the city, but really you service the whole city. There's a way you can go into the Google My Business profile and set a service area so you're not just relegated to your local neighborhood. The next part we want to talk about is reputation and authority. So your reputation and your authority outside of your own website are important because Google wants to rank websites that really do have a good, strong reputation and are authoritative. And so reputation and popularity specifically can be determined on social media, mentions of your brand, links to your brand, obviously. So authority is really more about, people and organizations that are affiliated to your site and then your own organization. So are there authors on your site that have good authority? They're well known. Maybe they publish books or academic papers, or maybe they have a big social profile with lots of following. Also, how long have you been in business and how long has your domain been around? That's always another concern about are you authoritative and are you going anywhere? One little secret that a lot of people don't know is Google also looks at how long you're registered for. If you have a domain name and you're just registering every year, each year, it's probably not as comforting to Google as somebody who registers 10 years in advance. So if you're a very, very large company, your domain might be registered for 10 years at a time. that's a pretty good signal to Google that you're going to be here in 10 years. And so authority of the business and authority of the people related to the business is also very important in terms of off-page factors. So the last thing that we talk about on authority is really the breadth of the content, the depth of the content compared to the competitors. So if you have lots of competitors that also have content on the same subject, you might want to make sure that your content's deeper and make sure that you have more of that content and have kind of a broader appeal. Typically, when you're looking at your off-page factors, you need some type of a tool. So looking at a web page for on-page is pretty simple. You can go through and look at keywords and look at terms. But when it comes to off-page, knowing how many links you have or who links to who, or knowing how many links your competitor has, these are very important, and it probably requires a tool that is going to crawl and going to give you that data. Now, Google Analytics, Google Webmaster Tools, these platforms that are free are not going to give you enough data. In fact, they specifically hide the data from you. And so you have to go out and get a tool like an SEMrush. SEMrush is kind of an overall tool that shows you keyword ranking, shows you competitive analysis. It talks about a lot of different factors. I like majestic.com as well. It talks about backlinks and shows who links to who. Ahrefs is another one, kind of like SEMrush, but it's a slightly different formatted tool. Raving Links is a big one. Bright Edge, Authoritas, SEO Clarity, and of course, there's many more of these. So each tool kind of has its own thing that it does, and so tools is a conversation where you need to try some things out, figure out what your budget is, and get into the right tool. Now, I always recommend that people that are going to do search engine work seriously and are going to do it long term, that they have some type of tools available. Even if it's just $100 subscription to something like SEMrush, you're just going to have so much more available to you once you have a tool. But there are very, very expensive tools like SEO Clarity, that I would use if I was like a Staples.com, like a very big national brand. Might use somebody like an SEO Clarity that's going to give you a much deeper view of the data. So you kind of get what you pay for on the tools, but they're definitely required in order for you to understand all the factors that we've just talked about. Okay, so in the next video, we're going to talk about domains and selecting a domain, and I'll give you a couple of tips that I like to think about when I'm trying to figure out what domain my site is going to live on. I'll see you in the next video.